Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, it has been a while since we have done any videos on Gimp, and so I wanted to go ahead and do an introduction to Gimp here as looking just at your workspace setup. So I'll do a few videos. Maybe I'll try and do these on Wednesdays for the next few weeks as I'm in the middle of doing some travel here. And we'll kind of get started on just the basics. Once you have Gimp installed, what do you do with it from there? And then we'll walk through what some of the tools do and stuff like that. So today we're just going to have a look at the workspace setup. And so what we're going to do is start in by just having a look at how the basic theming and how you get your work done, basically getting everything all set up here on Gimp. Now, I've not done a tutorial on Gimp since version 2.8. Back in that time, the default was actually a multi-mode like this, which I'm not sure has anybody ever liked Gimp in this mode. Basically, you have floating stuff all over the place, and your image windows here, and your desktop is backed all over the place. So one of the best things they did in 2.10, that all defaults to the single windowed mode. You can still go back to the old way if you liked it, but just in case you happen to be booting up a 5 or a 2.8 version and it's not looking like this, then go ahead and go down under your windows and select the single window mode, and this is probably how most people are going to be most familiar. Now, the next thing we're going to look at, we're going to do 4 things here. We're going to do a theme setup. We're going to talk about locking and moving panels and tabs. We're going to talk about keyboard shortcuts, and we're going to talk about a default image, because some of you guys, you do the same thing over and over and you need a default image set up. In my case, I do video production work, and so I have a default image that is going to be 1024 by, 1024, no, wow, the back of money. Do a 1080p image. So let's go ahead and start first with your theme setup. Some people like the lighter themes, some people like the darker themes. And so what we're going to do is go under Edit and under Preferences. So Edit and Preferences. And then this gives you all of your different system preferences. What we're going to be concerned with today is a couple of things. The first is going to be your interface. All right. So looking at your interface option, you have a few options. We have a dark theme. We have a gray theme option. We have a light theme option. And there's a system theme option, which is going to try and match what your system theme layout is. And this is the color that I have forgotten to change on my theme to match the yellow. We'll take care of that eventually. But for the purposes of Gimp here, I actually do like the older theming, but I do not like the new icons. I'm used to the old ones. I don't want to have to stare at the icon panel for 5 minutes every single time. So I like going in and using Legacy or the color option. Either of these will actually work well for me. So I do like this one is the one I'm most familiar with. We also, though, have your newer ones here. So your symbolic, and I think the symbolic is the default. Here's a symbolic high contrast, which is a little bit lighter. Symbolic inverted, which you'll be like, why would anybody choose that? Well, that's for when you're using a light theme instead of a dark theme. And so this guy here is like that. So if we keep those there and we switch to like the gray theme option, you can see that those do stick out quite a bit better. So let's have a look at the symbolic inverted. So that's kind of what that would look like. Or if you do a light theme, certainly these guys are going to stick out well. So that's why they have the lighter and the darker ones there. For me, I actually like the Legacy and I like the dark theme for using Gimp. It allows me to focus on the image a little bit better. So the next thing that I will point out here is the tool grid. Now, in the new version of Gimp, what they do is they set your tool in groups, and I can never remember exactly where it is, so let me go ahead and show you. So down here in the interface, the next one down is the toolbox. The default now in Gimp 2.10 gives you the use tool groups. This does match Photoshop a little bit more. You pull this guy down and you have these different options. I just don't like this. I think it's an inefficient use of space, being as that you can increase this to be a little bit wider. I have all this blank space here. I'd rather list all of my tools. So I uncheck this option. That's going to be a matter of personal preference if you want things down. But then you can also move stuff around. You can create your own groups here. You can add a new group down here at the bottom. You can move things up or down in the groups, and then you can move individual items in or out of different selections as well. So there are actually a lot of neat options if you do want to use tools to get everything all configured. I personally don't like using the tool groups at all. I just want everything up here because I can quickly find all of the stuff that I need. So that's what we're going to do as far as our theme setup. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to have a look at your panels and tabs. So over here we have several panels. We have the top panel on the right. We have the bottom panel on the right, and you can drag these to be different sizes depending on what you need. And then you can drag out here to go whatever width across you need as well. Same with the panel over on the left. There is a single panel down there with several different tabs. You can click on this guy here and you can add various tabs. So if you want to move an individual item there, you can go ahead and do that. In my case, the tabs are actually now inverted. And so what I'm actually going to do is I might want to create the style that I'm more used to, which the one over on the left is fine. The one over on the right is not. So you can just drag your tabs to the different panels so long as they are unlocked. Now, once you have a tab where you might want it to be, then you can click on the little configure tab option, the little button, and hit lock tab to dock. Then you won't accidentally move it around. And once I get my setup, I always lock everything because you might inadvertently move something around. So you can see I've actually had this all set up before, but we're going to go ahead and unlock these guys here so I can drag things down. So let's just go ahead and create a new tab here. So if you do pull these off, you can float them where you want. If you wanted to re-add it back to the bottom tab again, you need to grab the tab, not the title, but the tab, and then grab this, and you can see you can pop it a couple different places. If you wanted to add another panel down here, you can go down here. You'll see that the bottom panel there lights right up. Boom, this is going to add a second panel over there. In my case, I want the second panel over here, the one that I had accidentally gotten rid of. So we're going to go ahead and drag it over to there. And now I have my tab there, and I'm just going to go ahead and move all of the other items back down where I want them to be. Now, if you don't want something, like I don't generally use the history, so you can go ahead with the history selected. You can click on this and you can hit the close tab, and that gets rid of it. If you keep them small enough, you might actually get your titles up there. For me, sometimes I will use more things than I need. So I'm just gotten used to the icons. So now I have everything where I want them to be. I'm just going to go ahead and lock them all down. So now I can't accidentally move things around, accidentally break the tabs, or do anything else like that. So there's how to move around things. And of course, as I said, click on this guy here. Here's brushes. You can edit different brushes. We'll get into all that in another time. Here's if you want to add another tab. So paths, symmetry. If you want to do a colors tab, you can do that. So depending on what works best for you, you can go ahead and create your tabs and such. So in fact, is this a text? That's just a basic text. Let's go ahead and add a full font tab over here as well. So this gives me a listing of all my fonts. Then lock that one down. So that's actually useful information for me there. So there's how you can go ahead and set up your workplace with your tabs and such like that. And then the next thing we want to look at is keyboard shortcuts. So with keyboard shortcuts, sometimes you want to sometimes you want to go ahead and just streamline your process. So in my case, the things I use the most, I use image resize, I use canvas resize. Gimp does not by default have hotkeys for that. So I go ahead and set those. I also, when I'm pasting an image into, an image into a layered image that I'm working on, a layered project I'm working on, the default in Gimp is to paste it as a floating layer that you later need to right click and add to a layer. I find it to be stupid and annoying. So I changed that to paste it as a new layer instead of as a floating layer. So I have hot buttons for all of that. So you're going to go back down to your edit menu and down under your keyboard shortcuts. This is going to give you a listing, and these will completely match everything that is on your menus, and you can search. So the things that I do is scale image. I got used to Control-Alt-I in Photoshop, and it made perfect sense to me, and so I just always add that to a new Gimp install. So you just want to click it. You can see it's asking for new accelerator. Click the buttons that you want, and then hit the save button, and then it will be saved. So I do the scale image. I also always do scale layer, and since there's already a lot of other things with the L, I will do Control-Shift-Alt-L. And for pasting as a layer, I'll do, sometimes I do Control-Shift-Alt-V, or sometimes I just do Control-Alt-V. So for doing things like that. So you can see we have the basic scale, we have the scale layer, and the other one I do is canvas size. So I added the keyboard button for that. So the idea here is you just go through the various menu items and the things that you use on a regular basis that don't have hotkeys, or that have hotkeys that don't make much sense to you, you can go ahead and add them. I also do a snap to grid, which is something I do a lot. So I do Control Shift and Q to give me a good snap to grid option. So these are how you can set up all of your various keyboard shortcuts to get Gimp exactly working with the keyboard shortcuts that you want. And now on to image templates. My apologies if the audio shifted slightly, but this part needed to be recut, as some of the defaults in this version of Gimp do not seem to be working right. So let's go ahead and start through the basics. You can go down here, hit Create New, and then you can select a variety of templates there, or you can not use a template at all. I think once I select one there, it will not allow you to use it. So you can go ahead and make your whatever your default is. I generally am doing images that are 1920 by 1080p. And I will go down here under advanced options. The default resolution I think is 300, which is good for print, but I'm just doing web stuff, so I want to change that to 72. I like going in and hitting transparency. So now you go ahead and create your image. In order to create a template from this, go under the file menu and create template. But there is a problem, and the problem is it does not appear to save the background settings. So we went ahead and created that exactly as we are. Now if we go under our new, hit the problem, you'll see it actually is filling with the background color, not the transparency as we did. And that is problematic. So let's go ahead and talk about how we can fix that and manage those templates. So under your Windows, Dockable, Dialogues, and Templates, which I actually already have on my menu. I have a templates over here. So this guy here will show you all the templates. So in my case, if you want to get rid of like the Apple iPhone stuff, I'm never going to use any of these. You can just go ahead and highlight them, click your delete option. So if you need to delete an old template, you can do that. If you want to create a document based on one of these, just double click it. It's going to create the document. Now you'll see here the problem creates the yellow, but I do have a default, which is exactly what we wanted. So once you create your template, the workaround in this version of Gimp, if you are running into that problem, come over here, right click, edit template, and now you can go ahead and make the adjustments. And when you change this to transparency and save it, now it seems to save itself properly. And so that does appear to be a little bug with Gimp, where as you're hitting your create template, it's not saving the background styles correctly. So as the workaround for that, just go ahead and create what you have, edit it, and then go ahead and make the adjustments that you need. Now, once you go in and are using a default template like this, any further time that you are going to use Gimp, then what you're going to be able to do is just come in, pull that down, and hit OK. Now, what I think Gimp used to do is it would save a lot of your basic defaults here, but the fill width seems to be problematic on this version of Gimp, and that seems to be the only thing that's not being reserved. So you can create that template, pop it down here, and just start with double-clicking this or create file, new template. But that's how you can go ahead and get started. And of course, you can create a variety of different templates for things that you need and just double-click these guys to create those images based on those individual templates. So with that, thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you guys on the next episode of Switched to Linux. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.